Hello and welcome to Bird Barrier. We're here at ProLab Studio to bring you another quick podcast. This one in particular is what we're going to call a bird's eye podcast, where we're looking at an actual structure and we're going to do some teaching. Today the subject is roof returns. When we say roof return, we're talking about any overlapping structure where the tile roof or the outer exposure of the roof has an additional angle that comes in and creates this perfect little situation where pest birds, especially pigeons, sometimes starlings, will want to nest up in this structure here. And these are consistently a problem for pest control professionals and people who are doing this type of work. So I wanted to address this and really explain some of the science of what's going on and how to solve this properly. Now, on a roof return, one of the most critical things we need to determine is whether or not we have what we call a pass-through or a ventilation access into the attic area. Now, if you cannot determine that by looking at the structure, sometimes getting up on a roof like this can be a challenge. Getting up in here with a ladder and even getting to this point can be a challenge. And what we want to be able to do is just get in here, solve the problem, and be able to get out as quickly as possible and keep yourself safe. We come in from the other angle, from inside the attic. Oftentimes we won't really see the light coming through. It's often very difficult to determine. So the first thing what we need to do with a roof return is treat it as if there is a pass-through, no matter how deep up this goes. Because what is happening is the birds will be going for the deepest portion of this for their own protection. This is a great way to prevent any predators from getting access to them and their offspring. So this pass-through area has to be excluded first. And the best way to do that is with PVC mesh. It's been treated, it won't rust. I have a sample piece of that material right here that I've already cut to the basic shape. Now when I say cut to the basic shape, what you're going to notice is that I actually cut it a little oversized. And the reason I want to cut this oversized is so that when we get it in position, the biggest factor of what's holding it in place is friction or pressure. So you use a pressure fit and we force that into the cavity, and now just on its own strength, there's a lot of resistance because of how I've wedged this into this tiny little access area here. Then in addition to this, of course, we can mount screws to make it a permanent fix, or as well as barrier bond adhesive will work really well in this situation. A few dabs and within 24 hours, those will set up as a permanent hold for this area. Once we have excluded this access area properly, then we can go back into the attic, do a little bit further inspection, and see if indeed there are birds in there. Now, sometimes if we have a two-man crew, then what we want to do is try to flush out those birds. But unless we are, with a two-man team, we can't always do that. So what we want to do is at least go back in from the other side. If we do see bird activity, then we want to be able to remove this and make sure that we exclude the birds, and then address the attic cleanup on its own terms. Attic cleanups are very important. Oftentimes, homeowners insurance will cover the cleanup because of the infestation can lead to mold issues. That's all part of the insurance policy on many homes. But to the point here about solving this problem properly, we see so often that this intermediate step is not taken, and this is where most of the failures come from, by not excluding the deepest pocket. Even if there's not a pass-through capability, but you cannot reach all the way up into that cavity, you need to create a barrier using PVC mesh to bring that area out as far as possible that still looks good from the ground visually. This is an important part of this. Somebody's home, you don't want to have just a big box of exclusion if possible, because from the ground you're going to see that and it really plays into the aesthetic of the house. So you got to be considerate of that. Once we've excluded this area properly, and we know that the attic has a solution in place as far as any birds that might have gotten through there, now we can address this roof area, whether it's Spanish tile like we see here, or it's a regular composite roof situation. There's a ton of bird biology that's still left in here. That's when we got to go in and do our proper cleanup. Now we have videos that are available on proper cleanup. The most critical chemical aspect of that is this product right here called Dissolve It. Dissolve It has very specific enzymes in it that will attack the bird residue and neutralize it, make it a lot easier to clean up. So once we spray this whole area properly, let it soak in for 20 minutes, where they're going to rinse this area thoroughly, make sure that no bird droppings are left, no nesting, no eggs, nothing left from the bird biology is in here. We want it nice and clean. Then one more step, we're going to spray a diluted mixture of bleach water, about a 30% bleach ratio. Let that dry onto the surface, and now we're ready to do a proper install to exclude the birds from nesting. Now when it comes to optical gel, for this solution, it will work, but you have to be very specific about your spacing. You have to be very aggressive because of the high pressure nature. What you want to do is space these, but oftentimes what I see people do is not take care of the valleys in the whole area. The 6-inch center to center still applies. So from one center to the next disc should be 6 inches. And then we want to keep that pattern really nice and tight throughout, especially in the deep nesting area here. I'm going to cover all the way out on all surfaces here. Now, of course, this would be adhesive. My prop is magnetic just for the purposes of demonstration. And that allows us to position these and remove them just for demo purposes here. But you get the idea. I'm being very, very aggressive with my pattern. I'm even gluing disc on the inside angles here to make sure that the coverage is as high cover area as possible. Some of these are not magnetic, so I want to make sure these are all going in a position here. Of course, after we install the disc, we remove the lids. You get the idea. Look how aggressive my pattern is. That a lot of you are saying, wow, why are we putting so many discs in this area? Well, the fact is that this is the area that you need to treat. People think that they need to treat multiple areas of the home when you have a roof return problem, but it's all about putting out this fire of the high pressure nesting areas. And from here, we have enough that now the bird is not going to be able to nest into this area. After we have done this treatment properly, and the birds have then relocated somewhere else, then the homeowner can come back and be able to remove all of these discs once they have cleared the area, but always leaving this, which was the core problem, right? The PVC mesh exclusion. This is the proper approach to roof returns. So hopefully this has been a helpful example. For those of you that are listening to this podcast, obviously you're not seeing the visuals that I'm doing, but you will be able to watch the video that goes with this particular broadcast so that you know exactly how to address roof returns properly. Again, my name is Michael Gallion. I do business development for Bird Barrier. We're offering all kinds of podcasts for solutions, as well as all kinds of instructional videos. If there are questions that you have about what I showed you today, put it in the comments section. Send us a request for any new material that you think we should cover in our podcast. That's it for now. We'll see you at the next podcast.